What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I know you're excited to be here right now for the most jam-packed hour you have ever received in your life, filled with whole positivity, encouragement, inspiration, motivation, and elevation, baby. Woo, I'm excited. So I hope you guys are ready to receive all of this great energy. Pull up a chair, let down your hair, and unwind and de-stress yourselves and be ready to receive, because I'm excited for you, baby. Let's go. Woo!
Joseph JAFFE is not famous. I'm kind of, but I'm Ross, you know. JAFFE is nothing more than a zombie extra, you know. Joseph JAFFE is not famous.
Am I being overconfident? Am I becoming complacent about complacency?
I think you are.
Oh, he's not the Messiah, he's just a very naughty boy.
Yeah, for big ears.
I just want to see anyone now. Piss off!
That's the one, because you literally complete me, and we complete each other.
You've obviously encountered discrimination in your own life by virtue of being Australian.
Hey, Manuel Kant was a real pissant who was very rarely stable.
I don't want to get too gushy, but I might just be saying you complete me, Dean. PNG now stands for Pritchard and Good.
Branding is not a bad blind date. Look at you! You are insane!
How did I do that?
You're
How
insane!
did I do that?
You're insane! It's been a minute. How the hell are you? How's it going? Welcome back to Joseph JAFFE is Not Famous, but of course, my next guest is. I decided to go straight into a soliloquy because I've been away, and I got to figure out how all of this works again. These different camera angles, this hyphenated, multi-camera angled, complex streaming studio that we have here. So I thought I would just get straight into it because you know what? It's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've been around, since I've seen you, since you've seen me. So we're gonna get straight into a little bit of an update, and I'm gonna call this one. It's been a minute. It really has. Well, maybe a little bit more than a minute. November has been, well, challenging. I took a week off when I contracted COVID, and after eating just over a quarter of an onion and seemingly getting away with it, I canceled my show on Thursday, November 18th, as I had a date with the ER. No, it wasn't because of the onion. Yep, I was back in hospital for the 4th time this year due to my 3rd infection. On the 4th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 4 hospital stays, 3 infections, 2 surgeries, and a virus in my body. Gee, I wonder what December holds in store for me. Oh yes, it's Omicron and the global bullying of my home country, South Africa, and continent Africa. It just sucks. So I took off the week of Thanksgiving and I took it easy for once in my life. And I'm happy to say I'm feeling great. I went back to cardiac rehab this morning and I'm enjoying the blood flowing freely through my heart, through my veins, as it should. It has also been a pretty busy week work-wise and certainly in the world of crypto. As I was sitting in the ER, I was watching the live Sotheby's auction of the Constitution, which the DAO that I was a part of attempted to purchase. At $41 million, we lost out to Citadel CEO and billionaire Ken Griffin, who paid $43 million. Sadly, the project unraveled rather quickly after that and ended as quickly as it was formed. Easy come, easy go. I also ran a very simple promotion with my JAFFE coin. Purchase up to 100 coin and get 10% over and above from me with my gratitude. I branded the day Crypto Sunday. After all, we have Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday, and Giving Tuesday. Sunday, it appears, was available. I reached out to 18 of my fellow Creator Coin holders, and together we ran a Sunday to remember. With 38 individual purchases, I saw my coin rocket to a record level. But to be honest, that's not really what excited me about the day. At one point I tweeted, I've never given away so much money in one day in my life. And it felt so good. Everybody won. It was the ultimate win-win and reflects on this new decentralized Web3 world and revolution. Giving really works. So does sharing. And if you're watching this and would still like to get involved, contact me and mention the show. I'll be happy to extend it to you. So happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I'm thankful for community, and I'm thankful for all of you. Well, that's kind of what's been going on in my life, and it's why I thought I would just, get straight into it. I also thought it's a good opportunity to let you know how you can benefit from being a part of this community. Of course, what I'm referring to is the ability to get JAFFE coin. I mean, this is something that really, for me, has become galvanizing in terms of being able to kind of recognize that you are not a viewer, you are not audience, you are community. You are as much a part of the show as I am. And so, as you know now, when you see that QR code that just appeared up there, just point your phone to it and you will get some JAFFE coin. And what makes this so cool is the fact that the coin is only given to you and the QR code is only live when the show is live between 9 and 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you are being rewarded for your engagement. Well, let's get on with the show. You know that I have an NFT, and I'm now proud to say that 2 of my NFTs have been purchased. One, and you will see the sponsorship next week, by GTM Hub, and we're going to find out all about OKRs. I'm excited about that. And one, I don't know if I can announce it yet, but I will say by a long-term friend of the show and a regular. And so both will be able to benefit from sponsoring the show. One more thing, tomorrow, Tuesday, November 30th, I'll be doing a special tribute show at 1 p.m., a tribute to my friend, John Durham, who passed away over the last couple weeks. And we'll just be bringing on people that knew him, that know him, people that he has touched their lives, has inspired, to pay tribute to this exceptional man and eulogize him and make sure that his legacy and his memory will continue indefinitely and be with us all the time. And what better way to do it than through the show? He was on the show. That screenshot you see right now was a clip when he was on my show. So that'll be Tuesday, November 30th at 1 p.m. And even if you don't know him, please watch the show and enjoy just finding out about an amazing, exceptional individual. But now we get into this week's show, or this week's lineup of guests. So Glenn Lundy, Elaine Powell, and Rachel D'Alto will be my guests Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. But we are going to celebrate Oleg Konovalov. He is a global thought leader, an author, a business educator, a consultant, a C-suite coach, and he is joining us live from Moscow, Russia. He is my first Russian, my first Moscow streamer guest, and he will be on the show very, very shortly. And after Oleg, we will hear from Smooth, aka She Loves Rico. He is a creator, he is a poet, and he is going to perform for us. So a lot to look forward to, a lot to be excited about, and I think it's time to get into the show and get into our guest. And let me tell you a little bit about Oleg. Dr. Oleg Konovalov is a global thought leader, author, business educator, consultant, and C-suite coach. Oleg was named among the top 8 global experts in leadership and shortlisted for the Distinguished Award in Leadership by Thinkers 50 2021. And I know that he is not the first member of this incredible, illustrious group that has been on the show. He's on Global Guru's top 30 in leadership and is #1 global leading coach, according to Marshall Goldsmith's Thinker 50, having been named as the Da Vinci of visionary leadership. Now, that is an accolade by many leading authorities of our time. Oleg Konovalov is helping companies to create and execute their vision and achieve superior business performance. It is time to bring him on. Let's say hello to Dr. Oleg Konovalov. The Da Vinci. You are a Da Vinci. How about that?
Jordan, hi. It's quite a lot of responsibility because, people expect some kind of a miracle happening from me, but I'm not a magician. I just love things beautiful. Whether in life or in leadership.
Well, listen. You're gonna. I am sure Da Vinci right now is proud of his protege. You are guest number 301, but you probably weren't meant to be number 301. You were probably guest number 200. I have had to postpone you multiple times due to my various health and medical concerns. Some planned, some unexpected. So I have to say to you, thank you for being so patient and sticking with me in the show.
Joseph, I'm honored. But another thing, it's a great option for Netflix to make some kind of a movie, in and out from a hospital. That's quite cool. You need to be really persistent aiming to get back to a hospital.
I never want to go back to a hospital. And every single time that I left one of these hospital stays, I would say thank you, everyone, so much for your care, your concern, your support. And I really, really hope that I never see any of you in my entire life again.
So was it food so bad?
So, no, the food actually, the food got better, because you know what to order and you know what not to order. So,
right.
So, and it was funny because in my most recent stay, I still had no smell or taste. And so from my perspective, the food was like a Michelin star restaurant. What can I tell you?
No, but I don't wish such experience to anyone, of course.
That is true.
That's good of you that you are strong, bold, and continue doing this tremendous work.
Well, I am inspired by guests like you, and today, I thought it was very appropriate because today is actually what's known as the customer is wrong day, right? Not the customer is right day. And a little bit of context for you. The phrase "the customer is always right" is a slogan that was popularized by retailers Marshall Field and Harry Gordon Selfridge, as in Selfridges or Marshall Fields in the early 20th century. So my question for you is, how do you interpret the customer is wrong day?
I would be a strong supporter of this notion for a simple reason, because in most cases, we don't know what we want. We are betting on our previous experiences. Imagine, for instance, Steve Jobs coming on a big stage saying, "Hey guys, we got a smartphone for you." And people saying, "What? What kind of a smartphone? What's that? How to handle it? I need buttons." Before they realize that they're getting something that never they have experienced before. And otherwise, they will be all saying, no, we need phones with buttons, with heavy stuff. It's one thing. Another thing is, in business, when we talk about strategy or customer experience, we're relying too much on this big data. But this is a reflection of a people's previous experience. I'm more interested in the future. You see, I would live the rest of my life in the future. So whatever happens in the past, it's not my big concern anymore. I'm more interested in the future. And I don't have all the answers for the future. Maybe a couple of answers, but I need to explore everything from anew. The same with customers. If they're saying, no, we had this before, we should have the same again, it becomes some kind of a wrong habit. It's one thing. Another thing is when people are good at making up their mind, and they're coming to a shop or to a company or to business and saying, we need this or we might need that, and they're trying everything, but they're still not satisfied. Man, I'm not a magician.
I really love this idea of yours, which is basically like, in this world of data and big data, that really what we are doing is we are reflecting on the past. Now, obviously, you try and learn from the past, right? Live in the present and plan or project for the future. And part of big data is to project, is to be able to infer or understand patterns and be able to extrapolate a course of action. But there's another element about the future as well. And, we're going to talk about leadership, and not just leadership, but leaders, and not just leaders, but visionary leaders. But Oleg, one of the quotes that I found that I didn't actually use for you, but I'm going to reference it right now, is from Emmanuel Apetzi, who said, "To be a visionary leader, the future must be your home." And I was really struck by that quote in terms of recognizing that vision, by definition, implies the future, and the future hasn't happened yet. The future is uncertain, and we have to be able to have that faith, but also that trust and the ability to be right, to have that instinct that proves to be right. So I just wanted to hat tip you, because when you mentioned the word future, it just rang all the bells.
What a brilliant quote. What a brilliant quote, because future is uncertain, but your vision is the most certain thing in an uncertain world. And if I have a vision which is greater than me or my business or even my life, it pulls me. It pulls me, and all my thoughts, all my aims are directed towards it. I could live this vision as a legacy, not in exact word to word, action to action, but as a main for the next generation, how to think about their future. And this is so important because it makes me stronger. It pulls me up. It pushes me to develop my mindset. It makes me active. When we don't think we are all ideal, we're all perfect for today, because we know how to switch a light in a bathroom in the middle of the night without even, looking for it, because we're perfect for today, for a particular environment. And therefore, we are lazy, not active. Our mindset is caged by that comfort. But I want to feel myself human. And the main domain of being a human is thinking and acting. And therefore, to think better, to go stronger and do better, I need to have something in the future that pulls me up there. And that is quite important. Therefore, this is not just hope, it's a home. It's that little planet that I create for the benefit of others.
You know, there was some amazing insights there. That this idea of vision is the most certain thing in an uncertain world. And I guess the point is, we might maybe think of vision as positive, negative, right, wrong, but it's none of that. A vision can't be right or wrong. I suppose it can be guided or misguided, but it is the certainty that ultimately pulls you through and allows you to at least move, right? Because that's, you know, it's lethargy and inertia and the inability to move, to act, that holds us back and helps us, and where we fall back.
Sure, that's brilliant, because you see, we could easily separate positive vision, because you see a value for people created, and negative is just not much value. Let's put it in this way. How it could be right or wrong, we know only one person in human history with seemingly wrong vision, Columbus. That is thought that he will explore India, but he explored America. So it's ended up with a great exploration in a good sense. Anyway, because it was firm and certain that I will go this direction and I will explore something enormous.
And in that sense, it was this idea of right, the vision clearly wasn't discover India, right? It was discovery, you know, and it's the ability to also understand how it ladders up. This was a great conversation, but I'm going to pause for a second, because it is time for us to get into fun facts, because we can all tell clearly that you're a brilliant man. But really what the adoring crowd wants to find out is what makes you tick. And so we sent our investigators into the field, and here's what we found out about you. So we found out about where your happy place, that you have lived almost half your life in the Arctic, and you prefer wild nature rather than fancy city restaurants. So what is it about the cold and the isolation that you that energizes you?
It's not much about cold, because being in extreme cold is not so fancy. Actually, it's a mode of survival. So, because if you are facing something like minus 45, minus 48 degrees Celsius, you would be thinking twice before you spit, because it would end up as a piece of ice on the land. And but its tranquility, its ability to be attached to nature, to feel yourself truly human. And it's when you go fishing somewhere in solitude, you are in conversation with yourself and with the universe, and this is a tremendous experience. You are not troubled with this noise or crowd that pushes you somewhere, go do this, put the like on a social media, stuff like that. No, you are yourself, and that is tremendous experience. The only wrong thing on that picture is when you're facing an extreme snow, your face is covered with all these ice. It's not very shiny.
No, not at all. And surprisingly enough, that is the same face that we found in this rendition as well of you. I tried to work on your on your meditative head or hairstyle as well. But this one fascinated me, that due to the nature of your role, because obviously you speak on a lot of stages as a keynote speaker, as a thought leader, but you said when interacting with your clients and partners, you can stay without saying a word for days. This is like a vow of silence. How do you do that?
I don't know, but it came to me in a very good natural way when I was about 20. I had an experience. I spent like 7 days on my own, and all days, there was no mobile phones or anything like that, so, and I truly enjoy it because I found that I have a lot to do, I have a lot to read, and it was not any kind of a self-punishment, but it was more of a joy. And the other thing is, when we say words, we're not just spelling letters, we are sharing meanings. And therefore, you better have a time to be with yourself, stay quiet, and accumulate those meanings.
I think there's a very interesting parallel and connection back to these two insights with the concept of leadership. And I often say the thing about leadership, by definition, to be a leader means you are in front. It means there's no one in front of you. It means that there's no one telling you what to do, the playbook, the color by numbers, the best practices, the riding in someone's slipstream, to use a cycling analogy. That is lonely. It is lonely. What do they say? It's tough at the top, but it's even worse at the bottom. But it is tough at the top. How do you bring this insight to leaders? How do you encourage them to embrace the solitude or the loneliness of what can come from being, the number one person in an organization, in a company, even in a government?
I think it's very much about purity of mind. Our minds are polluted, and I'm the same person because we are on using different gadgets. We are quick with remote clicking TV programs and all those things. That noise makes us feel even lonelier than we could assume, because we're so addicted to that noise, to different conversations, even meaningless conversations. But if you think that, okay, I'm ahead of a big game, therefore I need to keep my mind pure and use it purely for its purpose, thinking, then you are not alone. You are busy doing your main work, thinking. That is why you are a leader. And that is quite important difference, because if you expect pats on the shoulder, praises, all this noise around you, you wouldn't have much time for thinking. You're not leading people. What I would say, leadership is about it's taking responsibility or accepting full responsibility for leading people from the present into the future. And that is a tremendously important space in which you must think and act appropriately, not just celebrate it.
I feel like, it's funny. I'm a professor of an adjunct professor of marketing. I'm teaching tonight at NYU, but I feel today that you, doctor, are my professor, and I am learning and being inspired. I love this idea of taking responsibility, but specifically, again, attaching that responsibility to the future, right? The uncertain future. And I also love that point about thinking, that is the almost, the primary, what did Peter Drucker say, the central, the main function of a business, right? In terms of but the main function of a leader is to think.
What I would say, a leader's mind is his or her main office and a headquarter and a working desk. And therefore it must be well organized, tidy, and up to a purpose. If it's a mess, you can't do a good job. No chance. That's quite important.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it comes back to noise, right? Noise and signal and silence. I mean, there's so many. I think we're almost maybe not cracking the code, but understanding the code. And the code, of course, that I'm referring to is the vision code. This is your new book, and I always like to kind of create a nice little tapestry as well, and encourage you all to go and buy the vision code, how to create and execute a compelling vision for your business. I'm going to ask you to set the book up and set the central premise of the book, and then I'm going to deep dive with a bunch of thoughts that I've had, in kind of preparing for today.
My aim was simple: to discover or to explore what is the nature of vision, how to create it, and how to execute it. Otherwise, for many of us, vision remains just a catchphrase. Oh, you need to have a vision, but how? What stands behind it? Actually, just referring to our very last part of conversation, vision, the roots of the vision are in our aspirations, in our deep aspirations. And we need to learn how to stay quiet for a while and talk to yourself about your greatest aspirations, from where you could create the future that you are most interested in, and that would create a value. So for me, it was important to explore how to create that vision, what's involved, what kind of the way a pattern of asking questions to yourself to create that vision that would be really huge, valuable for many, and meaningful for your life. And then, of course, how to grow as a leader, because leadership is not about leading people into the present. It's about leading into the future, and therefore my leadership will be judged on the basis how my promises will be met with the people's expectations of that future. I'm confident leader when I know that my promises are fully delivered. And of course, how to influence, also how to make others the co-owners of that vision, and how to act on it or execute it in a good sense, and how to revitalize it. And of course, very important point is vision is not an illusion. It's not just a dream. It's very pragmatic, very practical space in the future. And so how to test your vision against those different criteria to make it really functionable. And that was quite a challenge. I had a very interesting conversation with one of my respondents, and he asked me, how was your experience after writing this book? I said, look, it's the greatest challenge I have ever faced in my life, but it's reinvented me in a greater way rather than whatever I have done in my life before. So vision, it's a huge reinventing vehicle for ourselves.
So one of the things that you talk about when you talk about, so you've also like opened up this door to this idea of invention and reinvention. But connected to all of this is this concept of developing a true visionary leader mindset. Talk a little bit about what it is to be, what this mindset is. How do you develop this mindset there? And of course, there's so many interesting, tangents or offshoots, right? Which is, this idea is every person capable of becoming a leader? Is every leader capable of becoming a true visionary leader? Is every true visionary leader capable of developing this mindset associated with this way to think, way to work, way to act, way to, to bring people with you into the future?
I don't think that everyone or every leader need to be a visionary leader. It's more or less like a top league. Even if you are in a small business, but you're thinking, hey, I want really to not to win, but to succeed and grow. That's for such people. It's not for people who love problems. It's for people who love solutions. It's not for people who are very keen about themselves, because ego kills vision instantly. It's for people who are prepared to give to others. Therefore, there are different mindset traits which must be considered in a good way. Develop simplicity in a way you talk, in a way you think, because simplicity reflects structured thinking. It can be trained. It's about stepping on the throat of your ego. It's about creating value for people, not only for yourself. So there are quite a number of traits which would define such a mindset. But what is most important, it's for people who are looking towards the future. We all have what I call a mind lag problem. We are thinking too much about the past, very little about the present, and almost nothing about the future. Joseph, most of the people are thinking about the future as a Christmas time, because a Santa will come, some gifts, and then we'll see what the next year will bring. But in a good sense, if you're leading people somewhere into the future, you must think years ahead, and in a very practical way. And that is not easy. It must be trained. It's not a gift. It's a pattern of thinking, a pattern of mindset.
So I just want to go back to one thing that you said, which struck me, and I think maybe I will give you an out, right? I will give you a free pass, because I think this person was maybe an anomaly, an exception to the rule. But when you say ego kills vision instantly, immediately what popped into my head was Steve Jobs, and I think he had a huge ego. I mean, a massive ego, and yet
we'll have.
How do you was he just that different from the rest of people?
I think he's ambitious to create something enormous, which was greater than even his great ego. And so he compensated his ego with great ambitions. And that is an interesting case. I've been looking at this case myself, because I wouldn't say that Steve Jobs was the best person in the world or the kindest person in the world, but his drive for that future was so tremendous that it's covered all those gaps or weaknesses.
And of course, I always say, the word exceptional, right? In the word exceptional is the word exception. There are exceptions to the norm. There are not every rule and not every person, subscribes to the same playbook. And I think we just have to accept that. But yet you have a reconciliation, right? Which is this idea of ambition. So I'm just thinking, a fascinating conversation. Now,
it's true, because when you're just prepared to do something beyond yourself, within time it becomes a norm, and you consider it so standard that you are not even thinking that something could be done differently. If you positioning yourself that, okay, I'm very eager to explore something It's also part of your ego because I want to explore more, I want to explore more. But it's a matter for whom you would explore it.
All right, I want to, in our last few minutes together, I want to first of all give you the quote that I did find for you. It was this one: "Learn as though you would never be able to master it," and that was Confucius, the doctrine of the mean. How important is it to be a lifelong learner, and also have that humility as a visionary leader to continue that quest, and be voracious in terms of constant learning, constant improvement, pursuit of perfection, but maybe even a recognition that will never come?
The first thing that comes to my mind, why people need a leader? Because they're complementing own competences and talents with the leader's quality. And therefore, I must learn more to help people grow. It's one thing. Another thing is, life is so fast-paced and the changes are tremendous. And therefore, I must learn all the time to be in line with that forthcoming future. We can't predict what level of knowledge or information we would have within a year or 5. Therefore, I must be ahead of it. I must be great at that. And therefore, I will fit into that future perfectly well if I will overlearn. But there comes that I need to relearn something, and I learn a lot, still keeping within a pace. Therefore, it's a great wisdom in this quote.
All right, my last question for you before we let you take a break as we welcome Smooth onto the show. And also we're going to hear from Gregarious in just a moment. I'm picking up a South African accent. I'm kidding. You are joining us live from Moscow. You are my first Russian on the show, or Russian thought leader. But I wanted to just get your perspective as an international thought leader. We generally see all the Americans writing the books and on stage and talking about management and leadership. I just want to get a perspective as to what it is to be a Russian thought leader, author, guru, if you will, on management leadership, and what maybe point of difference you bring to the table.
I think I have a great advantage in this sense because I have a chance to look at different issues from different angles. I lived half of my life in the UK and of course in Russia, and therefore I could apply multiple views. And that gives me some kind of an advantage. And don't remember, helicopters were invented by a Russian guy, Sikorsky. TV was invented by a Russian guy who lived in the US. And video recorders are the same. So it's not more about nature. I was asked at one of the speaking events. I was speaking in Minsk in Belarus, and I was asked, what's the difference between Western leaders and Eastern European leaders? I said, there is no difference. There is a difference between leaders and non-leaders. Mm-hmm. And therefore, when we talk about advanced thinking, it's nothing about nationality. It's about what kind of a problem we want to solve. That's only a difference.
I like it. It is, again, simple, pragmatic, and visionary. Guest number 301, Dr. Oleg Konovalov, global thought leader, author, business educator, consultant, C-suite coach. And I would be remiss if I didn't tell you immediately to find out more and connect with him, not just one-on-one, but through his program, and his visionary leadership course. And you can do that by just typing in the URL that you see below you. You can connect with him at his website, olegkonovalov.com. Go and buy the vision code, how to create and execute a compelling vision for your business. Connect with him on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram, and be inspired as you have been tonight and as I have been right now. Oleg, have a seat in the green room, and we will bring you back in a few minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, just before we bring on Smooth, it is time for Gregarious Narain, our entrepreneurial consultant, correspondent, contributor. Here he is with a vignette titled Strategic Planning.
Welcome back, everyone. So where are we on our entrepreneurial adventures? It's Thanksgiving is past. It's a time of reflection. I like to use the end of the year as a moment for gathering my thoughts and for thinking through some of the things that I want to plan for the future. So I think it's important to remember that one of the most important parts of being an entrepreneur is actually planning and thinking ahead. And it is developing a plan that you can act upon and devising sort of strategies and techniques that you can use to leverage for the future. So I'm going to share the simplest format and framework that I like to use. It leverages some basic things, these ideas of like key performance indicators, KPIs. But basically what it breaks down to is at the beginning of every quarter, I like to plan the next 3 months out by thinking about a few things. Number one, what are my goals? What are the big things that need to happen as we start to move forward into the next 3 months, 4 months of our business? Then the strategies. This is part two, which is like, now how do I go about achieving those goals, right? Breaking that down into something that I could actually leverage or employ, right? Techniques or methods for achieving those goals. And then the last part then would be the ideas or tactics, right? So the specific things that I might do to execute on that strategy. So let me give you a very simple example, and then I hope you can go and take this to do it on your own. So for example, let's say our goal is to increase revenue or profitability, right? Well, there's two strategies to increasing profitability, obviously, right? One would be to make more money, right? And the other would be to spend less money, right? So those two strategies can then be supported by any number of tactics. For example, you might say, well, what could I do to save money? Well, I could not hire more people, or I could negotiate better rates, or I could switch service providers, right? And then what are ways for me to be more profitable? Well, I could get new customers, or I can make more money from my existing customers, right? And so you can see that by getting these three simple little pieces together, what it does is it starts to give you a little framework for scoring yourself. Now, the most important thing to remember, though, is that the only way to know if it's working is to have a baseline, so some number to measure against, and then a metric that you're going to track over time, right? So for example, if it's revenue, this is easy, or profitability, it's how profitable are we, and it's going to be measured. The baseline would be how much we make or profit we have today, and the goal would be to pick a number up from that place and see how you do as you get there. So go out, set forth. It's the end of the year. Use this downtime, whatever it may be, to sort of build and plan and do something great. Get ready for the new year and run into it. And I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.
I love this idea of thinking about visionary leadership, but also thinking about strategic planning from an entrepreneurial standpoint. There's a very obvious bridge and a thought process in terms of being able to imagine, create that future. But someone that is absolutely that has a bright future indeed is Smooth, aka She Loves Rico, also known as Micah Taylor, who is a senior attending Alabama A&M University. He's a connoisseur of the arts. Micah is a poet and a co-host of the Live to Live, or Live to Live, we'll ask him exactly how to pronounce it, podcast, where he talks about any and everything regarding self-growth. Let's welcome him to the show. Smooth, you are in the house. Is it Live to Live, Live to Live, Live to Live? Which one?
It's actually Live to Live. And that name kind of came about with an organization that me and my friend kind of founded here on campus regarding mental health. So it's love yourself, illuminate yourself, value yourself, and encourage yourself.
Well, you know what? I'm obviously biased because for me, everything is live, being in the streaming business. But I've also just really come to appreciate so much so the importance of mental health awareness, self-love, self-care, and so on. The importance of self, quite frankly. So I am going to disappear and fade into the background and let you do your thing. You're going to be performing a poem entitled Emotional Unavailability, and I'm looking forward to hearing you, and I will be back after you are done.
All right. You say, Mike, your actions don't match your words, apply pressure. But truth is, my actions line up too perfectly with your hurts, but you knew this, let you in with my words hidden, and yet you still forced me through it. You want overnight success, only bringing you overnight stress, because two hearts lie in mine, but neither feels that void. And from a few hearts I've stolen time, but only to silence your noise, and I threw hearts like a dime to keep me upright from my poise, and you only asked me about my poems, saying you see my world that I so rightfully suppress. Because you want it, yet my air you breathe is flaunted. The grace of my presence is enough to be taunted, because I'll feed your soul, yet still never give you what you wanted, and you'll hate me. Bring up inconsistencies and sign me up for places I never meant to be or even knew to see, but we can only do this for so long. By we, yes, I mean you, because apparently I'm playing your heart like a flute, but I play the drums. So right now I'm just beating to my own tune. I was never good at playing instruments that use the air I breathe. Only good at playing instruments that took the brunt of my anger. You see, I don't know if I was ever meant to be this man that everyone notices. Got my mind swirling like I'm trying to match my vortices, my feelings moving slower than tortoises, because my third eye seeing everything like it's horses, but Anubis like my spirit animal. Only to rip me anew, call me a heart cannibal. Unlocked mandible, mind too expandable, and I wish they so love in the can't do it section. Maybe I could digest it and help bring resurrection. And I began to look at my life like an incorrection, wondering where I went wrong, misdirection, because now I'm sinning like I was never born again. But God took his time with my blood, swore me in. And I never let the devil take my pen, because I still needed it to sign for the purpose of my life to become blooded in him. Then again, I never took the time to analyze my hurt for myself. Only took the time to realize how much hurt I could take to reach my wealth. Everything in life is a mind game. It just depends on who wants it more. And you see, I've only lost to 4 people in my lifetime, and your hearts are none of them. But it's fine if your mind can't withstand the punishment it puts out. Just remember that you have to understand the pain and struggles my brain went through in my land. Watch White Collar to see the white version of me, closet billionaire, still making a band, but I'm a closet trillionaire. So loving you out loud is just something my brain can't seem to comprehend or do right now. And I ask you to show me how. But you only want me whenever I constantly want you around. I thought I made that clear by sharing my life and opening my doors and never wanting you sexually. So remind me now, aren't you the one that liked me first? And based off your texting and calling skills, wouldn't your behavior be the worst? Yeah, I admit I got trust issues, and I found that I never should have opened up to you, because the more I need you, the more you never wanted me to, because you want me to verbalize my feelings. And you should know, based from the poems you're rereading, that verbalizing is my feeling ceiling. So you say I'm not her. You should never judge another person by your past. If that's true, then why are you judging me based off yours? Seems to me we're in the same cast, and I never get anything from you in return anyway. So did it ever occur to you that that's the only way that this will last? So yeah, I laughed and halfway acknowledged it. I pray you find the one for you, kid. Smooth.
Wow. Look at me. My voice is cracking. That was awesome. Post-production will take that out. I'm kidding. It's live. What can I do? Smooth. That was amazing. I'm gonna always, as always, reserve my comments, but I'll for after my guest. Oleg, what did you think?
I'm amazed, because for me, putting words into such beautiful forms and meanings is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
I absolutely loved. I wish they sold love in the canned goods section. I mean, would keep well as well. It was great. It was smooth. It flowed beautifully. And you know, I was trying to also like make the connections between what you were talking about, between this idea of vision, between this idea of leadership, entrepreneurship. You know, here we are just going through all this uncertainty, trying to find ourselves, trying to find our path, trying to just figure out who we are, where we fit in, and be comfortable, confident, secure with that, and have people also validate us too. So there's a lot of stuff going on. You know, tell us a little bit more, Smooth, about how you came to write this poem and really what it means to you.
So I actually wrote this poem in response to another poem, but it means more to me because growing up, I never really understood the concept of love. Like I never really had the time to like sit down and engage in what love actually was, how to express it, were there different ways or forms of love, different types of love, how to navigate doing that. I never really just took the time and sat down. So, you know, everyone faces a certain, you know, point in their life where they feel like giving up. They, you know, want to be removed from life in a sense. Me personally, I've tried committing suicides about 4 or 5 times, and it was because I didn't understand what love was. So when writing this poem, it was more so of a banter with myself and who I was responding to. It was trying to see like how could someone else get upset with me for not understanding love, but at the same time, my love is written through poetry. And at the time, I never really understood how to express my love out loud. So that's kind of how that poem came about.
Well, please don't ever do that again. You know, your talent is so pure, and you have a lot of love to give, no doubt. But I think also it all begins with self-love, right? Mm-hmm. Self-love and self-care. And I think it also comes back to, you know, even going back to what Oleg was talking about, which is being able to be comfortable with yourself in solitude, mm-hmm. in solitary, and realizing that we are our biggest fans and we are our best friends, mm-hmm. And everything just kind of builds from there, doesn't it?
Yeah. That's definitely what was going on. Like Oleg said, you have to be comfortable with yourself. And if you're not comfortable with yourself, then you won't be comfortable with anyone else. And then you'll go down a path that is, you know, more harmful than it is good for you. So
I could add, you better be a good friend with your future. Because if you're not happy about your future, if you're in conflict with it, whoa, it would cause a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting concept, being in conflict with your future. Oleg, why do we see such a lack of leadership today? Forget about visionary leadership. I'm talking about just leadership.
Oh, people are afraid of the future. They don't know how to lead into the future. They're leading people into their own past. Oh, we have done this before in such a manner, so we will do this again and again. It's comfortable. It's more or less they're trying to predict how often or for how many times they will repeat old mistakes again and again. It's not about leadership. It's nothing about leadership. It's just putting people like hamsters into that wheel, repeating the same things again and again. It's not about leadership.
Well, I'll tell you, there's one thing that is for certain is that the leaders of tomorrow are not just youth of today, but students of today. We spoke about learning. Smooth, you are a student. You're a senior. You know, if you ever doubt yourself, let me tell you one thing, that when I was a senior and when so many people were seniors, they were not on streaming shows. They were not creating beautiful poetry. They were not putting themselves out there and truly demonstrating remarkable, remarkable talent. You are ahead of the curve. You are ahead of your time, and you are ahead. Stay there. And it's been an absolute pleasure to have you in. I'm just blown away by the fact that you are a student.
Thank you.
Now go and study. I'm kidding.
It was a pleasure being on the show.
It was a pleasure to have you. And the thing that I know Oleg has been waiting for all episode and all these canceled episodes is, what did Chuck Norris have to say about you, Oleg, and about you, Smooth?
You are Chuck Norris approved.
See, you're approved. I mean, you were always approved. I will be back tomorrow night with Rachel D'Alto. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show, and if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.